All right. Well, it's officially been a minute since I've uploaded, and a lot's gone on. Sitting in the same chair as my last video, but a lot has happened in between that time and this time, and so I believe you guys kind of deserve a little bit of an explanation for what's gone on. To kind of update you guys on the events of things, and just so you guys are kind of up to date with where things stand. So if this is of interest in you, I kind of feel like it's an appropriate thing to do before I start uploading kind of more typical videos to this channel. So let's roll that intro and get into it. I'm not really sure where exactly to begin here, but essentially, we found out in the early summer of 2023 that we were expecting, and that news was just received with incredible joy. We were so excited for that. And so when we returned back to Sierra Leone, we made like a 3-month trip to the U.S. earlier in that year. And so when we returned back to Sierra Leone, knowing that we were pregnant, we kind of got the ball rolling regarding preparations for having the baby here in Sierra Leone. And so we started investigating some of the hospitals. This was the second time we were planning on giving birth in Sierra Leone. For those of you who don't know, our second daughter, Epaphra, was born here. And that was during the first year. And because of some of our lack of familiarity with our options at that point, we decided to go ahead and just have a home birth, which is our second home birth. Our oldest daughter, Eden, was born at home in the U.S., but still a very different experience, not having a midwife around. And instead of that experience necessarily giving me even more confidence, I think both of us kind of felt like we wanted to explore the possibility of traveling to Freetown, which is about 3.5 hours away, and looking at the medical care there. That would no doubt be of higher quality than what we can get here in Bo. At least that was kind of our thought. And so we traveled to Freetown. We looked at a couple of the hospitals there. We got recommendations from locals, even from Westerners that reside in Sierra Leone regarding what is the best quality hospital in Freetown. We visited there. And we're basically just planning on having the baby there. So our plan was, several weeks before the due date to travel to Freetown, stay there for a few months. That would include having the baby and recovering postpartum, and then returning back to our home here in Bo. And part of the reason for that is it's just a long process if you want to return back to the U.S. For the birth. Obviously, there are regulations regarding airlines that you have to, you can't be super duper late in your pregnancy before being able to travel internationally. And then in addition to that, after you give birth, there's also it could be a very lengthy process as far as getting all the documentation needed in order to return back to Sierra Leone. And so probably, at minimum, probably a 4-5 month process is kind of what we anticipated. And so we weren't too interested in being away from our home here in Sierra Leone for that length of time. And so we met the doctors at this particular hospital. They're very kind to us. It's still a Sierra Leonean hospital, and so we had expectations that were kind of matched to that. We knew that. We live here. This is our home. We're not blind or naive to some of the challenges of living here, and so we're going to make do with what we had. And our entire attitude throughout this whole process was, as long as there were not any indications for us to think that this was in any way an at-risk pregnancy, we were just kind of comfortable kind of proceeding with having a birth here in Sierra Leone. And obviously that's up for every individual to decide that. Every family would have handled that probably differently. That's just the way our family decided to handle that. However, something happened. In the week of Thanksgiving, so the last maybe full week of November or so, we and the Reiches, our kind of colleagues and our best friends here in Sierra Leone, traveled to Freetown just to celebrate Thanksgiving, take advantage of some of the supermarkets there. There was rumors of being able to get a ham in Freetown, so we're excited about that. And so we thought, obviously, since we're there, might as well go to the hospital and get a checkup, since it's not super convenient to do that while living in Bo. And so we got there, and there was some issues with the ultrasound regarding the baby's heart rate. And the doctor there was concerned, but basically said, well, maybe that, Sonia's just tired and worn out from the traveling to Freetown, and so come back tomorrow. So we came back the next day. This would have been, I think, probably Wednesday, before Thanksgiving Eve. And the readings came back the same way. So essentially what the concerning thing is that our baby had an irregularly low heart rate, and over a sustained period of time. And that was concerning to the doctor, so much so that the doctor was basically insisting that if we, was going to follow through with our plan of receiving, medical help from that particular hospital, that they were going to basically intervene and schedule an emergency C-section fairly quickly. And the hospital there, even though they're trying their best and things are getting better in Sierra Leone, but they don't have a NICU. They said that the only hospital in Sierra Leone that has something even like that is like an hour away. So they would likely immediately after C-section transport the baby without either Sonia and I, to a hospital about an hour away. While Sonia was recovering from surgery. And it just, that situation just really scared us. And we did some research, and we found out that it was within the last couple days of us actually being able to travel internationally. And so we pretty quickly made a decision that we needed to return back to the U.S., really to avoid some of the medical intervention that was going to be kind of brought on us at that point. And at this point, it was kind of too far in the game for us to look at different hospitals and second opinions here. Because if we had waited another week, we would not have been able to travel internationally very easily with some of the pregnancy restrictions on some of the international airlines. And so we intended to go back. And so we really within 1 week, we were on a plane back to the U.S., some excitement regarding all of that. A day or two before our departure, there was a coup attempt in the Freetown. The National Armory was broken into. There's a large prison where apparently hundreds of inmates and convicts were broken out, and there was a national shelter-in-place curfew that was lifted literally hours before we traveled to Lungi, the airport. And so, by God's grace, that was lifted just enough time for us to travel to the airport. And so, anyway, thankfully, we were able to make it out. But we were heartbroken by all this. This is not what we expected, not what we wanted, not what we had hoped for. But that's, we submit to the Lord's interference, I guess you could say, in our lives, regardless of what we expect or how we would like those things to go. I think one of the challenges of this was how abrupt this decision was. I mean, we were not at all planning or expecting this. And Sierra Leone really is our home, and so the decision of having to go back to the U.S. was not the decision to go back home, but rather to leave our home. And in such an abrupt way, especially with the coup attempt and everything, we were unable to even say goodbye to a lot of our brethren here that we wanted to. And so that was kind of heartbreaking for us and jarring. And obviously us, trying to figure out this transition while there being so much uncertainty regarding the health of our baby, that led to, some emotional, challenges, as you can imagine. But thankfully, once we got to the U.S., God's people are amazing, and they just provided for us, and they provided housing, transportation. They gave connections to doctors. We were able to be seen the morning after we touched down in the U.S. by a doctor, So just maybe the biggest takeaway from all of this is just how supported and taken care of we felt and were. We were, some brethren generously offered us just to, stay in their rental house that they were using. They didn't require us to pay anything at all, and it was just amazing. It was just so encouraging and helpful. But we were in the hospital a lot because of tests and things like that, and so the baby continued to have a relatively low heart rate, But thankfully, our doctor did not feel overly concerned with that. There was reason for us to kind of monitor twice a week. So anybody go in, we'd go in twice a week to get it monitored, just make sure that nothing was changed for the worse. And we were able to have a non-C-section in that sense, delivery. The baby came about a week and a half late, but we really didn't know, when the baby was coming. It wasn't induced labor. It was our first hospital delivery. And so that came with some new surprises and experiences and everything. But overall, we have a healthy baby. And all the tests afterwards came back completely, negative for any concerns, negative for any long-lasting, issues with the baby. This feels like a good cue. I might go see if I can sneak her away here for a minute. Say hello. So this is little Everly Haven. And so everything's healthy with the baby. Thankfully, the Lord just answered so many prayers, that just comforted us so much and just gave us so much encouragement. And so basically, while we were waiting for passports and visas and everything for the baby, we spent a lot of time kind of recharging our family. We spent a lot of time visiting brethren, trying to receive some encouragement. And we're just so thankful for, all the help and support we received. So I think this was challenging. This is a challenging period for us. We just got back about a week and a half ago or a couple weeks ago. And, I think for me especially, that visit in the U.S. was one of the more harder months of my life, just with so much uncertainty and upheaval and me kind of feeling, out of purpose and out of place and out of pocket and all that stuff. And but God is good, and God's taught us so much, and so we're thankful for that. And we're so thankful to bring back our little baby Everly here, and her sisters just love her to death, and she's adjusting to the warm climate just fine. And so we're thankful for all this. So anywho, we're back now. We're getting kind of still in the swing of things. Every time we leave and come back after a period, it takes us a while to get our homestead kind of up and running and optimal speed. But we're figuring things out and enjoying just being back in Sierra Leone. And Lord willing, we'll be here for a while and without too many interruptions and things like that. So we're just overall thankful, couldn't be more pleased, couldn't be more thankful to God for how he's taken care of us. So that's about all the updates for now. Please join us with just thanking God for his deliverance and him just giving us even more reasons to trust him and to praise him and to put our faith in him. I feel like this was a hard period for us, but I could see how in the past several years there have been some other hard things that have happened, and how those things have equipped me and aided me in being able to handle this experience. And so just God's good, God's faithful. He's so disciplining, lovingly disciplining in us to help us grow, and that's certainly been the case of how we're feeling now. So thanks so much for checking in with this little status update for those who were curious about where we've been. So I'm sure more regular videos will be posted from this point on, but kind of felt like this update needed to happen first before that. So I'll catch you guys later in the next video.